Hello, friends, and welcome to the 37th, there we go, episode of All New Snap Judgments, the 65th episode overall that we've been doing this whatever our branding is. As always, I am Roy Rogers, and joining me is my friend and yours, Aaron 10 Inches of Snow Glazer. Aaron, my friend, how much did you enjoy your snow day this week? And why is the rest of the East Coast jealous?
Because snow days are glorious. It was a wonderful, quiet day. I like wonderful, quiet days.
Yes.
I only got 4 union calls while I was at home during the snow day.
Working on a snow day, truly tragic, but at least doing things for your fellow workers, which is really all we can ask for on this Valentine's Day, which, although this will not actually be coming out on this wonderful Hallmark holiday, I want to wish our loyal listeners and loyal viewers a very happy Valentine's Day, which is both a very fun day, but can be difficult for many people. And I just hope everyone who is listening or watching this is well. But Aaron, what special guests are jumping in to join us and ring in this Hallmark holiday?
We are joined first by a returning guest, one of our favorite all-time guests, one of the constantly most demanded and most beloved voices in the Marvel Snap community. It is LaurenWhatevs. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm pretty good myself. Lauren, how can our wonderful people that already know how to find you, because we have you on every week, find you?
It's only number 3. On Twitter at LaurenWhatevs, and I write at Marvel Snap Zone like once a month. My January one is running quite late, but there's a good reason for that.
Well, I mean, like, if they follow you on Twitter, they'll get the articles that you would write on Snap Zone, but for free. So what's the difference?
Yeah, the articles you yell at me about,
All right. Meanwhile, we are joined by burgeoning streamer and Twitter personality extraordinaire. It's Benjamin Roller. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing all right. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm a big fan.
We're happy to have you, and I'm a big fan of yours. How can our people become fans of yours as well?
Oh gosh, Twitter really is the main spot to find me. I do have a Twitch and also technically a YouTube, but I don't use either one very often.
About the YouTube.
Yeah, well, there's nothing there. There are a bunch of videos of me playing Catherine really well. That's the thing that I used to do.
Good choice.
Honestly, like one of the best in the world at it. If I'm not just being a braggy bud, but
that's really cool.
Yeah, that was a different chapter of my life, and now it's all card games all the time, baby. I've left the blocks behind.
Fair enough. So wait, what's your Twitter?
But yeah, Benjamin, we need the actual handle as the young.
Oh shoot! Oh yeah. You can find me at Benjamin Roller. I believe there is an underscore. Actually, I'm quite certain there's an underscore. I was feigning uncertainty, but there's no need. I'm Benjamin underscore Roller on Twitter and also Twitch, I believe, both with the underscore.
Awesome. Welcome the underscore. Roy, underscore this segment with our socials.
Yes, if you are looking to engage with us on social media, you can find us on Elon Musk's hell site at SnapJudgeCast. We are incredibly grateful each and every day to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone, the website that employs Lauren and Glazer and lots of Den and lots of our other friends. And they, besides letting us be here on their YouTube channel, has the best large Discord in all of Marvel Snap. And it's going through some cool organizational changes. If you want to be a part of these cool organizational changes and be where all the cool kids are, you should definitely click the link in the description of this episode on YouTube or on your friendly neighborhood podcatcher and join the Discord. If you would like to use the internet equivalent of snail mail, email, to reach us, where we will do our best to respond through all the kick spam that Aaron shoved in that account. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. Besides the Marvel Snap Zone Discord, which again, you should definitely join, the 2 most important socials for us are up here at the end. We will start first and foremost with our YouTube channel at Snap Judgments Pod, where each and every day, except Saturdays.
Except
Glazer,
Saturdays, because that's when this goes live.
Yes. Is a daily snap take, sometimes multiple daily snap takes from Aaron Glazer. Now, Aaron, if our loyal listeners were to become our loyal viewers of the YouTube, what would they find on that wonderful Google software right now?
We are now a Cull Obsidian fan site. It's all Cull all the time from now on. And I hope you enjoy Cull, because that is the only card we're ever going to talk about again. We also,
Tragic.
on Sunday, absolutely tragic. On Sunday and Monday, we have special videos for you. Sunday, we are doing 5 all hip decks. And Monday, we're doing advanced Marvel Snap tips. That when I ran by Lampy, he went, dude, you better explain these well. These are complicated. So get ready for those two.
All right. Well, that is not the only way to sort of fundamentally engage with us and support us. You should definitely join the Discord for Marvel Snap Zone. Follow us on YouTube, which we are very close. By the time you listen to this, we will be over 9K. Awesome job, Aaron. But the way to most directly support the content that Aaron does is our Patreon, Snap Judgments. And if you...
I had no idea where that was going. I forgot the Patreon existed. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a whole thing about this tournament that you're organizing that you should probably put the slide up for now. All right, you ruined my wonderful transition that I was, thinking of while you were talking. Like,
I'm so sorry.
You're the one who bullied me into ever agreeing that you should have a Patreon, and here you forget about it. All right, anyway, $1 tier, you can join this awesome tournament that Aaron has put together with our friend Gunny T, among other people. And there's tons of content creators. Aaron, why don't you lay it out for our loyal listeners and loyal viewers what the Snap Judgments League, which if you give us $1 a month, really, and when I say us, I mean Aaron, $1 a month, you'd be able to participate in.
Oh, like I'm not going to lose money on the tournament. All right, basically how this works is you get put into a pod of 32 people. Among those 32 people will be various content creators and so on. You'll play 1 game a week scheduled at your own leisure, because I understand that everyone playing this game more or less is a busy-ass adult, and so that your time is valuable. So you schedule a game with your opponent, you play that game, report winner, and then you get another game next week. Whoever wins the pod ends up getting a free season pass. Then they're put into a winner's pod. The winner's pod will be a single elimination pod where you will play until you get a grand prize. The grand prize is going to be whatever the hell the big bundle of the month is. We can't tell you what that'll be because Second Dinner has decided we don't deserve to know anymore. But that's not all. The second prize, we're also going to do raffles throughout for various different little bundles as they come up, or season passes as they come up. And how often do you get a chance to say you beat LaurenWhatevs in a tournament, or LaurenWhatevs beat your brains in? How often do you get to say that Benjamin rollered over you? Well, this is your chance to do so. Join the tournament. Also, this is going to be like the start of Marvel Snap history, because we're going to keep records between tournaments and try and like get a thing going for this. So this should be hopefully a major thing going forward.
Awesome. I really think it's important for our loyal listeners and viewers to understand that this is a reverse pyramid scheme. On YouTube, you mostly find pyramid schemes where Glazer is trying to, or someone is trying to get you to give them money so they can take more of your money. This is the case where you're giving Aaron money so he can give you even more money. It is truly give someone $1, and get 2 in the future. So please feel free to join us on the $1 tier so that you can participate in this tournament. Again, it's a really unique experience in the card gaming space. There's not a lot of these kind of leagues that give you access to both playing many of your fellow normie players and some of the best content creators and most famous content creators in the game. Really cool, really awesome experience. You should definitely sign up for it. And it's only a couple of weeks before the first season kicks off. So really exciting. All right. I worked 14 hours today, so I don't want to continue with any fancier transitions. So we're going to talk about the new card of the week, Cull Obsidian. All right. Cull is a 4-cost 10 strength, Series 5, 6K token card. All right. You can only play this card where you have a 1-cost card. Is the drawback of this. Lauren, as our resident math expert, is having to have a 1-cost card in Cull Obsidian's lane actually a cost or a drawback or what have you, or is called the most busted card that has ever been printed in Marvel Snap, or somewhere in between.
Those are the only two options.
Yeah.
Is what I was going to say. I don't, like, if you have like 3/1 costs in your deck, it is not going to be very often that you have Quill in hand and can't play him by the end of the game. Of course, it's possible that you just can't, and I guess in those situations, he's not as good as the other 4/10s, but those odds are small, and I think everybody's already seen that Cole is good, especially
one
because
person
you
is
can...
arguing Cole is bad.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to shout out the name, but one person on Twitter is sitting there going, Cole is just bad. It's just Shang bait. It's just bad. Like,
Yeah.
how are you still arguing this? Sorry, Lauren.
There are some.
Go ahead, Benjamin or Lauren.
I'd just like to jump in and say, in my experience, you can get away with running 2 1-drops and playing Cull Obsidian, as long as you've got like other things to do on turns 4 and 5. Like if all of your eggs are in the Cull basket, then yeah, you should probably run 3 1-drops. But if you're like doing flexible, non-linear things, 2 has been enough for me. That's just been my experience. But also, these people with Shang-Chi, like, Shang-Chi is not a job creator. Shang-Chi only exists to respond to large things like Cull Obsidian. The idea that you shouldn't play cards because there's a tech card that counters them is just bonkers to me. And
Can I play Glenn for a second? Threats are better than answers.
Precisely. Whoa. I knew there was a concise way to express that. Yeah, it's buck wild. I don't know. And if Cull Obsidian gets shot down by naysayers, what chance do the weird cards have? If it's so easy to be closed-minded that you can write off Cull Obsidian, how are some of these future cards even gonna find their audience, so to speak? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Before we let Glazer share his opinion, I definitely want to slightly defend the people who are this card could be bad, right? Because Cull Obsidian is a vulnerable card to Shang-Chi and some other counterplay. The question you have to ask for cards like this, which are bait for Shang-Chi, is it worth the cost? Is the risk of getting Shang-Chi, which is the most commonly played tech card in the game, worth it for this card, right? Is the drawback something that, and if we're down to you just need 2 1-drops, then yes, Cull is 100% worth it. Right, but if you really have to go out of your way and what you get is a 4/10 that dies to Shang-Chi, maybe not worth it. But here it's clearly been shown that with tons of decks that apparently, again, you can go as low as 2 1-cost cards or as high as however many 1-cost cards Thanos has. And this card is very strong.
6.
Yes, there we go. Plus whatever ones you're running, Nebula or Sunspot or whatever, right? So, clearly the juice is worth the squeeze in this case. But I think, people who immediately think, okay, this card is Shang-Chi bait, it has some kind of drawback, is it worth it? I think is a reasonable question to ask, right? The dies to removal crowd, anything that dies to a removal spell, to use the magic term, right? There's always those people that are always going to do it. But I think when you are evaluating cards, particularly cards that are just this does not do anything but provide stats, it's worth asking, okay, is this worth the effort? And then I get Shang-Chi'd. Clearly it is, but it may not have been if this was actually a drawback. Now I'll allow Aaron to say whatever he would say that you could also get on our YouTube channel.
I mean, I don't have a lot to say. I'm going to have to figure out how to analyze this card. 4/10 good, big number good, no downside good. What am I supposed to say? This is the most obviously powerful card since...
Yeah.
Iron Lad, right? It's not the strongest card since Iron Lad. There have been other incredibly powerful cards.
I got big Miss Marvel vibes.
Yeah, but people. So it's worth remembering that our content creator friends, including myself, although I had it ranked number 2, had Ms. Marvel ranked number 3 that season.
Well, that was silly.
Which means
it was reading cards.
Yeah.
Well, so we're all wrong sometimes.
But also, I'm not sure if they were 1,000% wrong. They were definitely wrong, right? But the cards that it was behind were Gladiator, who it took 1 tweak, and the tweak is American, not the +1 power to become a meta card, right? and Annihilus, and Annihilus is probably the best 5 in the game. So, like, I'm not super hating, but, like, Ms. Marvel wasn't, like, immediately looked at and, like, that's one of the best cards in the game, right? Like, you could look at Cull and just be like, I mean, Elsa. It's the most obvious card since Elsa, right? Like, because everyone knew Elsa was stupid.
+3.
Yeah, +3. Elsa said +3
Yeah.
in any lane. So, like, Elsa was guaranteed to be stupid. But Cull is just amazingly, obviously powerful, and in a way that sort of defies analysis. I still don't know if long-term he's going to be the best card this month, but he's certainly going to be the most omnipresent card this month. He's going to be the most played card this month. So by certain definitions of best, he's basically guaranteed to be best. He's going to be strong. He's a meta card. He's one of those cards you can buy without any fear of, like, regretting your purchase. You'll just be happy to have him because he's going to go in shit forever. Unless they nerf him. But, like, how do you nerf him?
Or unless they make a 4/11.
I mean, even then, you'd
still probably play him.
Right?
But,
like,
you know.
You just play them both and you call it a day. Right?
Unless
like,
power creep
run him with
really
Darkhawk,
starts creeping.
You run him with Darkhawk, you run with Sentry now, right? Like, the decks he's played in are generally Zabu decks, right? Not always, but, like, largely Zabu decks.
Yeah.
Which means that, like, you're running multiple 4s anyway, so if they release a 4/11, you're like, cool, I've got a 4/10 and a 4/11. Shine them both, sucker.
Well, you could definitely feel bad because this is literally one of the most boring cards that they've printed in a while. But speaking of less boring cards, we are halfway through the Black Order month. Benjamin, Black Swan, Supergiant, thoughts, feelings, opinions, hot takes, cold takes, anything in between.
I kind of don't like either one of these cards very much. Neither one really speaks to me as a player. Black Swan is the one that I've experimented with more because it can be friends with some of my favorite little things, but Supergiant I think is kind of profoundly unfun, and I just sort of wish it weren't around. But as long as somebody's having fun, it doesn't have to be me.
What?
Yeah, not my kind of card.
Don't like that opinion. You should have fun all the time.
Maybe.
Lauren?
I still haven't figured out how to use her, and I've been trying some quirky things, and maybe that's the problem. Obviously she's good defensively, but that's so meta dependent. I don't think she's worth running just for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, it depends on the meta. I guess if Leech starts being everywhere, then sure, let's run Supergiant then. I was hoping she'd be more fun for doing silly things, and there are some silly things. Like I was playing Beaks' 3-card deck. Have any of you tried that?
That is Regis Kilbin's 3-card deck.
Oh, you're right, Regis. My bad. That was very fun, and it's something you could have already done with Invisible Woman, but I guess the Supergiant means you also get to be disruptive at the same time. And I did win matches playing only 3 cards. It's a Supergiant, Taskmaster, Blob. You just get 2 gigantic cards. That's kind of fun, I guess. Even though I'm not a big cards person, it's just silly enough to tickle me.
So, Supergiant. Okay. Supergiant. It's incredibly frustrating to have Supergiant played against you. That's how I know it's good. Like, whenever I play Supergiant, I feel like I haven't done enough. But then when Supergiant's played against me, I'm like, shit. I just spent all this time setting up these plays, and now they're garbage, and I have to replan in 2 minutes. And depending on how good and quickly your opponent can do that, that's going to determine how good Supergiant is in that matchup. I think Supergiant's great. I genuinely think Supergiant's going to be underrated for a while. I said this, I don't know where the hell I said this. I messaged W like a day ago, and I was like, hey, why didn't you break Supergiant yet? And he was like, oh, I will. I've been busy. I was like, it looks like your kind of card. He's like, no, this is exactly my kind of card. I got this. I was like, thank you. So W will casually break Supergiant relatively soon whenever the free time opens up. Black Swan sucks. You're not going to convince me otherwise. Black Swan super duper sucks.
I kind of think the effect is not something that you really like need or want. Yeah, I don't know.
There aren't enough 1 costs that you want to play late.
That's exactly it.
So, like, I've seen somebody do it with Ghost Spider and Iron Fist, and I can kind of see that, where it's like get some extra movement effects right at the end of the game. But mostly one costs don't have a lot of value late in the game. Right? Late in the game, you want stats. So I guess dropping Titania and Martyr for free is pretty cool. But it's just, I have played good Black Swan decks, but she feels extra, not anywhere close to necessary.
Like, playing a lot of one-cost cards means that you're playing a lot of one-cost cards, and that's like, they don't do very much, is the fact of the matter. There's a reason we like 4-cost cards, and it's not just Zabu. It's because they justify the slot, opportunity cost and all that.
I mean, so I tried it. Roy last week was like, I think that this card will be good in specific shells that where you play it on 3 and play it on 4. So I tried it in a bunch of those, and the best of those shells are Black Swan into Supergiant in my experience, which is actually pretty cool. But even then, like, I wasn't winning those games. I was just able to output more power early.
You did a cool thing on the way to losing.
Because I was still playing a bunch of 1s, right? And then I just dropped a bunch of 1s, and you know what? They could hide when I play Supergiant Killmonger.
Yeah.
So that was bad. I don't know. It's been... Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. I play it in bounce decks. And in bounce decks, it operates as worse old beast.
Yeah, that's
now. I need 2 cards to accomplish what I used to need 1 card to accomplish. So thanks, I guess, but I'd still hate this card.
I mean, I used it in Zoo to close out my infinite run. Like, I think it helps Zoo be more viable, but I still don't know if it's enough to really make Zoo realistic outside of Series 2.
I will continue to beat the drum that all cost reduction will eventually be busted.
Eventually.
At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it just will. Like Zabu.
Just need the right one cost.
The right one cost.
I think...
What's her face? The villain from Loki was also like...
Ravonna Renslayer.
Ravonna, yeah. Was poo-pooed as well. Who knows? They might slightly adjust some number, and then suddenly the opportunity cost goes a lot down. So, like, Black Swan is definitely, I think, a good season pass to buy, similar to Zabu, although Zabu was busted right at the front. But, like, I don't think ever buying cost reduction cards is ever really a bad idea, because it's going to come around. So.
If you made it an ongoing, it would be amazing.
yes, it would be. Yes, it would. Yes, it would definitely be busted. Okay, we've truly reached the nonsense level of this discussion of this month's cards. If Glazer's suggesting just busting cards, all right. But we are doing buy or sell. Glazer, real quick, will you explain this for our loyal listeners and loyal viewers?
So buy or sell, we have 10 takes. We are going to buy or sell each of them. Our goal is to not half buy or half sell. You are wholesale ass buying or selling these 10 takes, because we can discuss the nuance, of course, that's where the interesting discussion lies, but your job is to ultimately buy or sell the takes involved. So our first take is the Valentine's week event from February 13th to 20th. Should be permanent. These changes are, for our dear listeners who are not aware, Angela and Sarah get +1, and this works if you play one, the other gets +1. Then you play the other, the first one gets +1. That makes sense, right? Did I explain that well enough to be coherent?
Yes.
Okay, good. Spider-Man and Ghost Spider with +1. Nakia and Black Panther with +1. Star-Lord and Gamora with +1. Iron Man and Rescue with +1. Vision and Scarlet Witch with +1. She-Hulk and Daredevil with +2. Cap and Agent 13 +2, Gambit and Rogue +2, Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic +2.
Real quick, Aaron, for our loyal listeners and loyal viewers, if someone is buying, does that mean they like it or they don't like it?
Buying means that these changes should be permanent. Selling means, nah, we can't make this permanent. This would be busted. And you can't just make some permanent, although we can discuss the ones, obviously, that we would most like to see be permanent, i.e. Captain America.
So I will toss our first buy-sell answer to, again, our resident math expert, Lauren, who definitely, because she knows math, must be good at economics. All right, Lauren. Buy or
If only you
sell
knew.
the Valentine's Day changes.
Okay. The real challenge is we can't do halvesies, because I'd be like, if we could, then we should just, the ones that aren't problematic should just get them as permanent stats. So that is a half measure.
But which ones
so
are
I'm
permanent
gonna-
stats? Which ones are problems?
I don't know if any of them are problems, which is kind of my point. But
Oh.
I don't like them as abilities. I don't like the power couple ability is fun for like an event, but if I were to make these permanent, I would much rather them just get their base stats improved. As somebody who likes deck building, I don't like encouraging very specific deck building when you could keep them more general and flexible.
Yeah, it seems reminiscent of the datamine version of Cull Obsidian that required you to have an Infinity Stone where you wanted to play him, and no card should say own a Series 5 to play this on it. That would be bonkers.
But Cull would be healthier if he were printed with that text.
Yeah,
when they cut it, maybe they should have made him a 4/9.
Yeah.
Like, there's somebody that's going to be their first spotlight cache they open, and they get a card that says you need the rarest, least hard, or least easy to get card in the game. Like, it's always going to be Series 5, by the way. Like, that is just such a slap in the face for such a huge expenditure of resources and a moment that should be, like, really exciting for a new player. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Since when do they care about new players?
They need to start.
Fair. All right, go ahead. So wait, are you buying or selling?
Oh, I mean, I guess these are all fine because they're all Series 3 or whatever, but I am also of the opinion that maybe they should just give cards the proper stats, and then we don't need to... I mean, like, I guess the flavor is fun, and I do think that they are test driving future team-based like things like this, but I don't think we need the power couple mechanic specifically in the future, even if we do get something that functions similarly down the road.
Also,
so I guess I'm buying or selling. Get it away from me.
So I'm selling too, but also if I hear one more person go, "Why didn't we get Cyclops and Jean?" Not realizing that all these are Series 3, I'm going to put my head through a wall.
Yeah,
it's so completely obnoxious. It's like, just look at what series they are. Actually, Ghost Spider Series 4, right? So we've got one Series 4.
I guess.
Wait, did Gwen not move down to Series 3?
No, I believe she's Series 4.
Well, there you go, Glazer. So actually, you need to apologize.
There is no internal logic.
Maybe you need to apologize to
There's still no Series 5. There's still no Series 5 because every other complaint I've seen involves a Series 5 card.
I mean, they could just do Cyclops and Emma Frost. So those are both
also, these characters have all been around for like 50 years. They've all gotten around to multiple romantic partners.
I mean,
like
some, not Angela and Sarah, but
okay, not all of them. But...
and some of these are in no way couples, which is my favorite. Like Daredevil and She-Hulk are not a couple.
Okay, that's MCU bias. You are forgetting what the primary fans from Marvel Snap are not. Comics fans, Glazer, they are MCU fans, and I know, and you didn't make it to the end of She-Hulk, but the best two episodes of She-Hulk
the walk of shame that Daredevil does is iconic. It's a memorable moment.
They're dating. They're not whatever.
Star-Lord and Gamora are not huge in the comics. Like it's MCU bias, bro.
All right, fine, whatever the hell it is. Okay. So bluntly, I'm selling. I think this event is stupid. I was assuming everyone's going to say no. We also can't have a 3/5 Gambit and a 3/4 Rogue because what the actual fuck? But like whenever everyone's like, none of these are broken. If you give Gambit and Rogue are broken, you can't have a 3/5 Gambit and a 3/4.
You'd also have to play them together, which I don't see a lot of synergistic potential there.
Sure. But the second there is, it's immediately broken then. And like you just do them in Surfer. They're in every Surfer deck forever.
Oh, that's the point.
You just gave them the Surfer buff before that you have to Surfer, and then you get the Surfer buff too.
Yeah. All right,
seems
I see that.
Fun. But yeah,
truly
I'm selling. I do not enjoy this event. I'm purposely not playing any decks with these. I think this is not fun.
I've just been abstaining out of laziness, and I already had plenty of ideas I wanted to try. But yeah, I appreciate your principles on this one.
I don't like it. It's dumb. Right,
on the other hand, I don't appreciate Glazer's principles in this and think he's a hater. And so I'll be, I guess, the one here who buys. Not out of a particular thing. I think it's adorable. Like, I wish they had been even larger with Marvel couples and more inclusive. But I mean, I do think fundamentally, in the most serious way, I agree with everyone that, like, I hope this is set up for an Avengers mechanic, an X-Men mechanic, like to use, what's the term that Marvel's currently using? It's not, but anyway, for sort of group mechanics, right? Where, if you play the Avengers together, you get some sort of small buff, right? I think that's a fun entry level deck building, like, for people who are in Series 3, or, just like, one of the first ways when I started playing card games was like, I started playing the Game of Thrones card game. I love Arya. I love Jon. Mm-hmm. I love Ned. I want all of them in my deck. Right?
Well, there's there's a deck for you.
Yeah, there's a deck for me, right? Like, if you love the Avengers, right? Like, putting all the Avengers in a deck together is a thing, and you get a small benefit, right? Like, I think that is a mechanic, and it might be a mechanic that powers up people who have lower collection levels that could help newer players, like, not necessarily compete at the highest level or high with the most powerful decks, all of them running Call of Obsidian or whatever. But I think anything you can do to sort of get people to think about deck building, think about cards that you put in there, and flavor wins. Like, I am also a person who loves sort of the flavor wins of this kind of stuff. So
I do think it could also have the opposite effect, though, where if you're missing one of the key pieces of your preferred, like, team affiliation or whatever, like, if there's a Series 5 that you really need to make not the Fantastic Four, that was a bad example, but you get the idea. Yeah, you see what I'm driving at.
X-Men,
sure, yeah.
Avengers.
What if Jean Grey is actually the linchpin of the whole operation? And you have your Cyclops that you got in Series 1, but he's he's already unplayable. Okay, examples are hard.
No, it's really generic.
Wait, I'd also like it noted that I don't want people to think too much about deck building because my YouTube channel exists. We're good, thank you.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have Lauren finish her thought, and then we're gonna move on to the next buy or sell.
I was just gonna say, what if you made it really generic? These are all one other character, but what if you did an X-Men and you don't have to have the whole team? It's just if you have any two X-Men, your X-Men buff is activated. Any others you play, they also just get the same +1 buff or whatever.
I like that.
And that way, you also get more deck flexibility. Like, you could use any two X-Men and get the benefit.
Awesome. I am selling this conversation. I'm not allowing Aaron to finish it. We need to move on, or we will be here all night. So, all right, our next one, which we'll start with you, Benjamin. Buy or sell? It's good for Marvel Snap that Hela is a tier 1 deck.
So selling is the one where I think this is nonsense and it's no good. And I'm strongly, yes, I would like to sell this as hard as humanly possible. If I said anything else, I think Safety Blade would have some words with me. No, it's not gonna have words with you no matter what. Hela to be. I don't know. Point is, he's right about Hela. No good. Casino mechanics should not be running the show. It's not great. That's just my opinion. I know that some people just love to high roll, but the roller does not. That's not my thing. It's so out of control. You don't even pick the locations. I'm all about picking the locations. I don't know. I think it's no good and unhealthy, and it's not a nuanced take. But if you all can find some nuance in Hela, I would just love to hear about it.
Laura?
I agree. It's a sell. It's a game where you're supposed to play cards, and Hela, you do have to play cards to set her up, but also that can be a 3-card deck. It can be Invisible Woman, MODOK, Hela. I know that's not the prevailing deck right now, but the other thing is, if she's number 1, then the only way to, I shouldn't say the only way, the way to beat her, though, is tech. And I think you want a deck on top that can be beaten by
doing your
a
own
lot more
thing.
flexible options. It shouldn't be so specific to how you beat it. There's only a few cards that can beat Hela.
Roy?
I get to be the contrarian again. Bye. I think that well-built Hela decks have the right level of variance, right? Like the all-in, just like play all the big people, Modoc and spin anything like that. That's a fun meme. I've done that many times, but I think like the Black Knight sort of like these kind of versions of Hela, I think are no different than any of the RNG decks, ones that rely on Lockjaw or Jubilee or any of these mechanics that are very common in Ben Bird games that randomly pull cards out of, move them from one zone to the other. Like it's not, and these aren't even generating surprise cards. Like you've seen the cards be discarded, right? Like Infinite is a possibility that could come out, or what have you. Yes, it ends up in random lanes, but there's definitely ways to plan around it. Are you always going to beat it, even though you are an awesome Aristotle level card game player? No. Sometimes the whims of fate get you, even though you are part of the academy of card game players. But I think that Hela, as far as RNG does, is a very reasonable combo deck. It's vulnerable to some tech cards. It's vulnerable to randomness. Like I think its vulnerabilities are fine. I find it far from one of the least obnoxious decks that perennially comes up here. So I will definitely buy.
So I'm selling. It's gotten too good. It hit number 1 on the Infinite leaderboard, and Hela should not be number 1 on the Infinite leaderboard. Its issue is that by virtue of it hitting number 1, by virtue of it honestly just chilling in the top like 30 for the past several seasons, it's remarkably consistent. Hela was completely fine when it was more random, and now that you can pull off Hela almost every game, and like it is literally almost every game outside of random draw luck, you can pull it off as much as you can pull off your regular good stuff combos now, or close enough to that. I think that is too much. If the point of a casino deck is that like you're not supposed to be consistent, right? And it is consistent, and like comparing it to Lockjaw as a problem is fair, comparing to Jubilee as a problem is fair. But you know what? Hela decks run Lockjaw and Jubilee, right? And they've managed to like maximize the percentages. At this point, there's just enough cards. There's just enough cards that make it really good. They've released just enough targeted discard that this is fundamentally like... I mean, and it's also fundamentally tech-proof. Outside of like a lucky Cosmo, it's really hard to out-tech Hela. Like, they don't have priority because they've played basically no real power early in the game, which means your general Shang-Chi shit is good. So you can Cosmo and then hope you hit an Alioth 50-50. And outside of that, I don't know what you're supposed to do. Like, Cosmo in a Lockjaw lane is phenomenal.
Play Ghost.
Okay. I mean, I guess you can play Ghost and then be like, haha, I shonged one of your lanes and hopefully all your stuff came up there. But not only do I not know if your stuff is going to come up there, you don't either. Right? So, like, it's not even a 50-50. It's a whims of fate. Sorry, my wife just came out dressed as a bear. This is very disruptive. Shoo. Sorry.
All right. Well, we can barely continue here. Benjamin or Lauren, additional thoughts?
I think if the nicest thing we can say about Hela as a tier 1 deck is that, well, Hela's not any worse than Lockjaw. Like, I mean, sure. You know? Like, if that's where we're setting the bar for healthy game mechanics and stuff, I don't know. I think Lockjaw is a separate busted issue.
Here. Ready for number 3?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Buy or sell, Lauren. Marvel Snap would benefit from the changes to Meek, Yondu, and Mantis.
And Lauren, tell us what these changes are, because I obviously did not have time to write them on the slide. I never came.
You're going to make me do it off the top of my head. Okay.
Yeah.
Meek is now, instead of at the end of the turn, it just gets power for discards, which I guess would open it up to Dracula. And then
I have the actual text here if you want.
Hey, puppy.
The text.
Yeah, you go full on. I deal with my dog.
When you discard a card, this gains +1 power and can move next turn.
So cool.
It's very cool.
Okay, what's Yondu?
I don't actually have that one. I've got Mantis, though.
Go ahead, let's Mantis.
Mantis is on reveal. If your opponent played any cards here this turn, copy one of them into your hand.
And
isn't Yondu destroy the lowest cost card in your opponent's deck? Isn't that what it is?
That's what
on
I've
reveal,
heard.
destroy the lowest cost card in your opponent's deck. Okay. So would Marvel Snap benefit from these changes by yourself? Sorry, I decided to not be able to breathe while I was talking. Lauren?
I am buying Yondu's another hit against Destroy. To me, it still feels like a really tiny one, but it does hurt. No, I guess.
Interesting.
It hits Deadpool or X-23.
Yeah, I thought this makes Yondu a better card, but that's interesting. I see.
It depends on what the most valuable
what you're
cards
using
in your
him for.
Deck.
Like,
Zabu in a lot of decks.
If you want to power up Null, he's worse. But if you want to target something like Iron Man or the opposing Null or whatever other low power thing, like
is it lowest power or cost?
Oh, is it power or cost?
I think it's cost.
Look, so even then, just hitting Zabu, hitting Deadpool, hitting whatever is great.
Well, I think the main reason you run Yondu right now is for Death and Null, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, milling isn't a real strategy yet.
I mean, if it were targeted, I feel like it could be, because like Silver Samurai is so much better than Moon Knight. It's wild.
That's true. It's lowest cost.
Lowest cost.
Yeah.
I don't like that as much as lowest power.
Agreed. Meek is awesome. Being able to control where he moves is excellent and makes me wish I got that card.
Meek is already
he's Series
just
4,
fine.
so yeah. That's the impression I've gotten. I just don't play discard. And then Mantis, I don't think it makes her any sense.
No.
Except
not
maybe that it guarantees that you can play the card.
Yeah, but the cards want to be played on specific turns. You don't want to be playing last turns. Like the fashions have moved on. We're wearing the spring styles now. Like, I don't know. Getting the leftovers from the opponent is probably not a way forward.
So I'm buying, but I don't think Yondu or Mantis are good. I just think they're more interesting.
Yeah.
Like they have metas where I can see wanting them. Like if they released Elsa again, right? I would run Elsa and Mantis.
Mantis against Elsa?
I'm like if they released Elsa again, a 2-drop that was insanely powerful like Elsa, and I wanted 2 copies of that 2-drop, like I wanted 2 copies of Elsa,
and you thought you knew they were going to play it in a given lane.
I mean, if you miss, you miss. You just played a 2-3. A lot of your 2-3s do nothing late game anyway. Well, I think it's interesting, if not good, because it's terrible now. Like, at least be bad and interesting.
It wouldn't see any less play.
Yeah, Yondu would be bad. It would be out of a stupid shell that I don't like anyway, and it would be interesting as a tech piece for when certain things happen in the meta. And then Miek would be amazing, so I'm totally buying.
Right? I love the Meek change, but I have to sell because I think that the Yondu change is like kind of dumb, and the Mantis change is like a side grade. So like, why spend time like turning your wheels for 2 other cards? Like the Meek change is awesome, but 2 out of 3 I think are garbage. So I've got to sell this since there's no in between. I can't just take my boy Meek and leave the other 2 in the trash can. So got to put all of them in there.
Ultimately, half glass full for Roy.
And Meek is doing just fine.
In this case.
I maintain a perfectly playable card with very good stats if you're doing the right things with him.
Yeah, I like Meek, but I think this version of Meek would be even better. So,
I'm rooting for him, but he's doing okay.
Well, one more week, and I think he's going to be obviously busted. So we just got to get there. We just got to get there. All right, let's move on to our next buy or sell, which I believe we are starting with Benjamin here. All right, buy or sell. Leech is a symptom of a bad meta, not a disease making it bad. And I need to add a quote, Aaron Glazer. All right, so here we go.
All right. I guess my opinion is not particularly well suited to the format of buy or sell. I do think that Leech is definitely a response to something, and I guess I don't think that he makes a meta bad or good. I think he's just like a fact of life, and I do think he's an unfun card, but I don't know. I guess he's serving a purpose. I guess I'm buying this take because it's not the worst, and I don't hate it. I don't know. This isn't like the Hela one where I knew immediately which side of the fence I was on. I don't know. Maybe someone more with more conviction on the issue would like to express their feelings.
Lauren, do you have more convictions on this subject?
Nope. This one I'm like not quite sure because I don't love Leech. I do think that the release valve is important, but recently we've seen some decks running him pretty freely. Don't love that.
You don't like to see that much of him.
Yeah, I mean, isn't Darkhawk still running him even now that Blob isn't everywhere?
Oof.
I don't. So it's like I feel just like gray on this one. Like he's not there because of a bad meta. I guess I'm selling because I actually think he is more harming the meta than he is answering the meta. At least recently.
I thought it was one, but the more I play, the more I think it's two. It's just, it makes games less interesting, and I don't like making games less interesting.
Definitely an unfun card.
I guess my interpretation of this would be buy, but not always for the way that Aaron kind of tries to articulate this version of this. For me, the disease is Marvel Snap is a game that heavily rewards decks that get ahead, stay ahead. And Leech is the most obnoxious get ahead, stay ahead card. But it's full of a lot of bullshit that exists in this game that with that play style that it like really supports. Call Obsidian is an example of a get ahead, stay ahead sort of kind of card. And this is just like the extreme, most obnoxious version of that. So while it is a symptom of a bad meta, I think it's more of a symptom of like the worst aspects of Marvel Snap, at least from my opinion, versus specific metas. Like specific metas draw that out, but that is always floating. As anyone who's ever played, for example, against Shuri Red Skull, like that's the ultimate example to me of like get ahead, stay ahead, put some numbers on the board, and okay, cool, lots of fun. So for me, I have to buy, maybe not the exact way Glazer, who will now go in and give his variant of this take, but definitely the spirit of it, I agree with.
I mean, I'm selling because Leech isn't fun, right? Like, when I play card games, I'd like it to be fun. Playing Leech isn't especially fun. You're just saying now the game stops happening. And, like, that's ultimately lame. And then the opposite case is not fun either. So I think Leech is stupid, and I wish this card did not exist anymore. That's my take on Leech. I really, 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 really hate it, like, in ways that are hard to articulate fully without just saying really a lot more.
Yeah.
He's kind of a cop-out tech card, right? Like, if you didn't have him in the game, it's hard to think of cards that wouldn't be countered. Like, eventually we would creatively come up with a way to deal with the meta.
Yep.
Yeah. I think he was definitely a more necessary escape valve before they started, like, hitting the nerf bat with, like, all sort of powerful late-game cards that it really counters, like Blob, and with the willingness to, like, constantly tweak some of these, like, powerful top-end cards. I think Leech, like, you can't make the excuse that, like, Leech is a really necessary escape valve.
That's a good point.
But I think when the game was starting, I think he was much more defensible as a card that should exist when they were much slower about changing things. All right, but I don't think we have a lot of passion around Leech, which is sad. He's a cool character. Yes, but you also missed the point of your own statement. But we thankfully moved beyond that slide and moved on to Marvel Snap buy or sell. All right, Lauren, I love this. This definitely not biased one here. Snap Judgments League will change competitive Marvel Snap. Now, I just want to re-emphasize for Lauren here on Snap Judgments, the podcast, the official Marvel Snap Zone podcast. Our tournament.
And Lauren, don't forget what site you write for.
Yes. Snap Judgments League will change competitive Marvel Snap. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy because the competitive scene has been very dry lately. And this, it's monthly, right? Am I making that up?
I think we're going to end up doing every other month, unfortunately.
Every other month. Six more big tournaments a year than we had before. Probably one of them, I think it'll be one of the best attended. Plus adding cool things like regular stats and maybe rankings and interacting with, bringing in both creators and players who are not creators. Great for the community, and I think it can only be a good thing. Easy buy.
Oh,
Benjamin?
Ben? Be mean.
Oh, yeah, I'm also going to buy. Also, I think earlier in the podcast is the first it's been mentioned, but I will indeed be competing in Snap Judgments League. So if you've ever looked at any of my deck lists on Twitter and been like, did you really get 72% win rate with that? But it's got Punisher in it. It can't be good. No. Here's your chance to vindicate yourself and throw tomatoes at me and somehow get egg on my face, even though it was produce that you were throwing. I don't know. Point is, you're going to make me real embarrassed, and you sure will wipe the shit-eating grin off my face. Sorry, I don't remember if we swear on this podcast or anything, but yes,
we're far enough along in the episode you can say some things and the algorithm will not get us.
Well, there's no video, but I think the other people on the call can confirm that my resting facial expression is indeed a shit-eating grin, and if you want to wipe it off, you gotta join Snap Judgments League, baby!
All right, Aaron, give your take. Buy or sell the Marvel Snap Judgments League of the podcast that you are currently creating, that people are currently watching and listening to. All right. Will their league change competitive Marvel Snap that you founded? Let's honestly say this.
So I'm going to sell because there's never going to be a tournament. I'm going to take all my single dollars, rich off $1 at a time, and run away and disappear to an island. No tournament, suckers. Bye.
Yeah.
That seems unlikely. No. So it wouldn't had Snap Battle Arena and Snap Fan Opens continued. It would just be another thing. But because they didn't, this is going to change things. Because we don't have what we had earlier. And the previous competitive tournament scene severely limited who could play to who could get away for a day. And it was extraordinarily hard for a lot of players to get away from a day. And this being more open to a lot more of the community allows a wider base, which allows it to have more impact. So I genuinely, not because I'm doing it, but because I truly do believe that this is going to help make the game a better place for everybody.
All great points, everyone. But I have to say, sell because I can't be bought. All right, moving on from this absolutely terrible product placement question to a much better one. All right, Benjamin Roller, buy or sell? They need to stop printing Thanos cards.
I guess I will buy this with the. Oh, we don't do caveats, do we?
You can caveat, but you're buying it if you are.
All right. Well, what even is a Thanos card? Well, I guess there is an example. So my spouse is a lapsed Marvel Snap player, but recently unlapsed, and
I believe
she saw Kyra, And whatever, relapsed. Yes, there is in fact a word with some connotations.
Like a real word for that.
But anywho, she sees Kyra and she's like, "This is probably really good with Thanos, right?" And I'm like, "Bingo!" So I guess they do print Thanos cards, and people can recognize them as such, even if they are not as brain rotted and terminally online as I am. So, yeah, I guess Thanos cards are a real thing, and maybe they should stop printing them. I don't know. Sure. I guess I'll tentatively buy.
Lauren?
This one's so tricky. Okay, if they made Pull Obsidian kept the text where he needed an Infinity Stone card, absolutely, I'll buy. But the Thanos cards so far have been, you can use them in other places,
Yeah,
even if Thanos is the best place. So
okay, so what this means is they should stop printing cards whose primary and best placement is Thanos. Better?
Yes. You know what? I am still going to, I'm going to sell because there's only 12 slots in a deck.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 11 Thanos cards, what's another one? Like, eventually you have to start eating Thanos cards. As long as they're usable somewhere else, I'm fine.
Lauren has the objectively correct take, because despite Glazer's wiggle room he tried to add here, the game wouldn't exist if they stopped printing Thanos cards, because all cards are Thanos cards.
Yeah.
Thanos is just fundamentally busted. Again, adding a bunch of draw for very small opportunity cost of a perfectly fine top end card that gives you these other things, which increasingly seem, as they get nerfed, seem to also feel like these Infinity Stones get buffed. I don't understand Thanos. I do. The card's busted. All Marvel Snap cards are Thanos cards. You can basically have Thanos and 11 other Marvel Snap cards, and you'll have a 49% win rate deck. And then you start slowly refining it and go up in percentage points. So we all want the game to continue, so this podcast to continue. So you got to sell this opinion.
So if Lockjaw were removed from Thanos, I think I'd be fine with Thanos cards being printed. However, I think Lockjaw fundamentally breaks the card and deck Thanos, and so I am buying. I think that Thanos plus Lockjaw is going to be a problem as long as Thanos and Lockjaw are in the game. Well, I think it is extraordinarily likely that Thanos and Lockjaw were a problem for the last year, and we all just stopped playing it because we're all dumb.
We're bored of it.
That was definitely not it. They nerfed 3 cards and were like, oh, this isn't playable anymore, and we just stopped. And then 6 months later, people were like, oh, Blob is out. And then we put Blob in, and it was like, oh, this is great again. And then they basically made Blob just a very regular, very good card in the deck, and it was like, oh, this deck is still stupid. Thank you. So obviously Blob wasn't the problem, right? It's Thanos is fundamentally broken, yes, but Thanos is fundamentally broken with Lockjaw, and there are certain types of cards they can print to make that significantly more obnoxious. And I will cite Scar, Kyra, and Cull Obsidian as 3. And I wish they would stop giving cards that made the most busted thing in the game busteder.
But wait, so are you saying that Lockjaw is a problem? Don't you know? Lockjaw is only as bad as Hela, and Hela's fine.
Yep. Wow. Thank you both for being so correct. All right. Lauren, do you have anything additional you want to say about Thanos here?
I do not.
Awesome. All right. Oh, this is going to be a great one. All right. So, buy or sell, the datamines stopping is the community's fault. I believe I started last time with Benjamin. So, Lauren, here you go. Join the cancel cavalcade or give it into the mob. Which is it?
Okay. Given that these have to be black and white decisions, I'm going to buy. Obviously, it's ultimately second dinner's choice. I think if they gave us any explanation, which they have, they're always going to blame it on us. But yeah, it's people freaking out about datamines changing, and I wish they handled it differently than just stopping them. I wish they would, give us official announcements and previews and, make it more clear, like, these are previews, they could change. But given what situation we do have, it's all our fault. My fault specifically.
I mean, Terrence's fault, but it's fine.
Benjamin?
I think this is just about as sellable as that Hela take earlier. Oh my gosh. I really like to assume that the communications we receive from Second Dinner are, as honest and good faith as possible. And I think in a lot of cases, they absolutely are. I think that suggesting that it's because of community backlash to changes from what has been data mined, I think that's a bunch of nonsense. I think they want to eliminate the information that people were using to make informed decisions. And I think they want us wandering around in the dark and bumping into things and hoping that, like, we think it's like our best opportunity to buy whatever bundle, or like, more information is always better. Even if half of the information changes, we can all be informed about that and still make better decisions and be treated like adults and all that good stuff. I don't know. Like, I should have written down some notes on this one. I knew this question was coming, but yeah, I feel like they're gaslighting us when they say that, like, oh, it's actually because people got really, really hurt feelings when we changed a bundle, and it hurt our feelings when they got angry, and that's not what's going on. You're trying to make us make bad financial decisions. Stop lying. I don't know.
Right. How many things need to change before we start, before the community at large realizes that data mines aren't the final product? It only takes that a few times before we lose trust in them.
Like, I think, but okay, I'm buying like hard. This is where the YouTube commentators are really going to want me to leave the show. Like, I am buying this opinion really hard.
I messed up buy and sell. I'm sorry. I buy this.
Oh, you are blaming the community?
No, I sell this.
You're selling. You were right the first time. You didn't believe. You didn't have faith in yourself, Benjamin. You were right the first time. You sold. I'm buying. Like, I firmly believe this because I think people conflate three different things that we've been talking about. Second Dinner's shitty advertising and the need to actually advertise bundles. 100% on board. We need that. That's awesome. Them trying to trick people into just spending money immediately by not advertising bundles. Also true. Bad. They shouldn't be doing it. But this community's attitudes towards data mines, like, they are actual advertising, actual promises, actual things, and not things that people went into the code, pulled out, and could use to make semi-informed decisions, but treated them like actual advertising, like it's something that Glenn went on Discord and confirmed, or some intern posted on Twitter. Like, that is the fact that the community developed that culture on their own.
Oh, bullshit.
No. It is 100% on their own, because it was the only advertising that they did about these things. Did I say it was it not at all Second Dinner's fault? But Second Dinner wasn't screaming, hey, go into our code and pull out data mine information and use it for these things. Like, they weren't clearly opposed to it until more recently, where they stopped making it possible, but they weren't also, like, literally telling you to do this. The two things that I 100% agree with Benjamin and Glazer on are 100%. They need better advertising. They need to lay out at the beginning of every month every bundle that they're going to do, for example. Right? Or the next 2 months worth of bundles or some period of time, right? And yes, the reason they don't do that is because they want you to have FOMO and be like, I don't know if the 3K bundle here will be replaced by a 6K bundle next week, so I need to buy that bundle today. 100% they want you to do that. But this community's attitudes towards data mining was toxic, even before they started making significant changes towards the bundles and towards cards. So
this is utter nonsense.
This is my last week on the show. Okay,
this is utter nonsense, literally, because no one had this attitude, period, about Spotlight cache contents. No one did. No one was yelling about it. They changed it like 4 times, and I was like, oh, cool, they changed that one, huh? No one ever yelled about it, and they still removed it. So That's complete nonsense. Because they literally, the one no one was complaining about, they're like, it's your fault for complaining, but no one fucking complained about that other thing. Just no one did. It didn't.
There's definitely some chatter about
there was like
spotlight changes.
There was an occasional conversation that is not the same as complaining. I am terminally involved with this fucking game.
Okay.
Like, I spend so much time on this game. No one was complaining. Not even like the people that like just are like someone. There's this dude who's blocked by everyone in the community who replies to every commented video that no one plays guy. Marvel Snap's dying. You know who I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Even that dude wasn't complaining about spotlight changes. No one was complaining about spotlight changes. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. They're gaslighting us. This is straight up gaslighting. And datamines are advertising. They were saying we don't want to have to advertise our bundles and spotlight caches. That takes effort on our end, and we are poorly organized. You know who's going to do that for us? Every fucking content creator by making a video going, oh my god, this is busted. Because that's what we all have to do, because the YouTube algorithm is a piece of shit. But you know what that does? That advertises the living shit out of their product. And then they realized that through whatever data and metrics they had, they realized that by not advertising it at all, they can make people confused and make people buy more shit. And fuck us for advertising for them. Fuck us for trying to give informed decisions. Go to hell. And like, it is the most frustrating thing in the world. Because like, if you're going to take away bundles, I'm annoyed. But at the end of the day, it just makes me sad for Yeti, who like really built his stuff off that.
Very true.
But getting rid of what's in a spotlight cache is utterly fucking bullshit. It's utterly fucking bullshit. That is how you play the game. If you cannot know what is coming up in caches in the next 2 to 3 weeks, you cannot objectively, intelligently plan. Ben?
Okay, thank you for calling on me, Mr. Glazer. I remembered something that I should have mentioned earlier. So they can claim that, like, you know, the data mines, that's like not stuff that we intended to put out there. And you know what? I would believe that for the first 2 months. After that, they know that they're getting data mined. Like, that it is de facto like an official press release almost, even if it is subject to change. Like, they know that they're getting data mined. They are aware of MarvelSnapZone.com and other similar websites. Like, they're putting it is publicly available information, whether they meant it to be the first time or not. Like, all subsequent additional batches of data, like, they knew what was going to happen to them. And that's a thing that I meant to mention earlier but forgot to.
Yeah, I'm actually slightly confused by one of Glazer's complaints here. So, like, I actually get most people being upset about the bundle data mines going away, because that's like actually budgeting out how much money you're going to spend on the game, and they don't tell you at the beginning of the month like what bundles are coming out that month. So you can't say like, I have $200 to spend on Marvel Snap. What should I spend my $200 a month on Marvel Snap? That's a lot to spend on Marvel Snap, but let's just say that's what it is. But they actually do announce at the beginning of every season what the spotlight cards are going to be, right? Like, and the variants.
But not what the other cards will be.
Only the new cards.
The variants. Yeah, they announced the new cards. That's all data mine, dude.
No, I'm almost like, am I insane that in my app, when you open it, it says like Supergiant, and then these are the cards with Supergiant? Am I wrong?
That week. Not earlier.
That week. Okay. I'm going to actually open my app.
If I really want Gladiator next week, right? Gladiator is coming.
Gladiator's in the week of, what's it called?
Next week. Of Corvus Glaive with X23.
I'm actually opening for Corvus Glaive, so there we go.
That's next week. So if I really want Gladiator, and I don't know if Gladiator is coming, it's extraordinarily hard for me to use my spotlight caches. And if I use my spotlight caches incorrectly because I don't have accurate information, and then Gladiator comes up, I'm far more likely to spend a bunch of money on tokens to buy Gladiator, which is basically what they're doing.
Wait, no. Okay, I'm in the app.
Yeah.
And then it says Spotlight Caches, February 6th. It's got Darkhawk, Supergiant, Zabu. And then February 13th, it's got Nimrod, Cull Obsidian, Thanos. And then it says February 20th, Gladiator, Corvus Grave, X23.
Where?
And then MODOK in the news of the app. I'm literally in... You can't see this video, people. Like, I'm in my app. It's like literally here. Like.
Well, let's just say supposedly that's going away.
Okay, maybe that's going away, but that's officially like. But
it shows you the variants too.
Yeah, like
not just the character.
Like, the thing I thought, like when you were going off about Spotlight Caches, I was like, that's weird, because I thought they were advertising. Because the thing I reasonably understand people getting upset, even though I think people put too much faith in the data mines, like being pissed off that you don't know what you could spend your Marvel Snap budget on.
Fair.
Like the
So
actual
if-
money
if
is a
you-
reasonable thing to feel, even if I do think people had a really toxic relationship with datamines. Like they just like believed it was a promise from the company versus like what was in their game files when they released the patch. And they just didn't care to clean it up because it was more trouble than it was worth, and was free advertising, but was it like conscious free advertising? They were just like, hey, these are in the files, people can get them, that's cool. But then once it became a pain in the ass for them, they got rid of it. That is my attitude towards what happened with the data mines. But I was like, definitely you can, maybe they're getting rid of that starting, what's the next season?
Avenger, no. Is Avengers
versus X-Men, right? You had it.
Is next. Okay, yeah. So maybe Avengers versus X-Men, they'll get rid of it and not tell you the month. But I thought that one thing they did advertise was Snaplight caches.
Even then, there are several weeks, right? Because if you're spending on Season Pass, you're getting about 2 spotlights a week-ish, right? Lauren, correct?
1 point something.
1 point something a week. Great.
It's closer to 1.5.
So I want to open for. I'm interested in Gladiator. Gladiator is not the card I most want to have, right? Ms. Marvel is the card I'm really dying for. Who cares? Ms. Marvel is a fine example. Yes, Ms. Marvel is week 2 of what's next month? March. That's how months work. Ms. Marvel is week 2 of March. How do I know what's coming next month? How do I plan 2 weeks out? I still can't plan 2 weeks out, even if I can plan for this exact month. So for exactly 1 week, I have a full 4 weeks of information, and then I know very little without datamines.
I mean, again, I can't fully disagree, like, knowing a large amount of stuff, but, like, what is the timeline that we would ideally want? Like, 1 month? Okay, that's not enough.
Well, we have,
should they announce
right now? 2 months. 2 months is perfectly fine.
With data. Well, we have 3 months now, don't we?
No, we usually have 2. We have the month we're in, and then we have 2 out.
Yep.
Oh man, the Spider-Gwen and Miles variants are very cute, but they're not worth $50. All right. Anyway,
so it's that is worth it. That is double the gold you usually get for $50.
Sure.
So as the closer you are to game complete, the better that bundle is. I went through it with Yeti. I got to talk about it later. Okay. It's almost double.
I guess. I don't know. All right. So, anyway. I'm not Yeti. Trust Yeti. All right, let's move on. All right. Series 3 is more of a problem than Series 5. Benjamin, right? Or because we had such an intense conversation.
Do I need to explain this one?
No, you do not. At least not to me.
You don't need to do this. I assume this is to new players, or is this just to be clear, or just
for the game as a whole, not to anyone.
There you go.
For the health of the game.
Yeah, game as a whole. I buy this very hard. Yes, Series 3, huge problem. It was a problem when I started playing at global launch, or at least it felt like a problem, just like with the normal or the, base size of Series 3 when there were like not cards added to it. But like, yeah, it was so tedious and so frustrating to be aware of all of these cards that, would make other cards viable, but have no way to get them or target them to pursue my deck building whims. Hugely frustrating. And now it has to be so much worse. I can only imagine. I don't know the specific numbers. I assume Lauren will be very much on top of that. But like, Series 3 is huge now. And the acquisition is like glacially slow. And now it's complicated by people getting, Series 4 and 5 cards that they probably won't be able to make full use of without the things in Series 3. It's just, they've got to speed it up somehow, is my feeling, because it makes it really hard to recommend the game.
Lauren?
This is an extremely easy buy. Both because Series 3 is the biggest problem it's ever been, and Series 5 is the smallest problem it's ever been. Or close to it anyway. Series 5 is growing eternally, but also Spotlight caches have done an extremely good job of getting Series 5 cards into players' hands. Mm-hmm. Much better than the token system did. Series 3 takes, 6-7 months to do now? Season Pass only?
With
maybe even 8, because we're going to have 2 more series drops within those 8 months. 7 months.
Are we?
That's a good question.
Base it a few times a year. So I'm taking that as roughly quarterly.
So I don't believe them, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Like, that feels like bullshit.
But Series 3 takes way too long. And it's not just how long it takes, but it's also how little agency you have over the Series 3 cards you get. The only one that you can choose is the one free one per month, and you have to be watching your app like a hawk to see those every 8-hour rotations.
Better not sleep for 9 hours.
Death when she shows up. Right.
When I was in Series 3, I literally did not sleep for 9 hours. I had an alarm at like 7.5. Like on weekends.
Just to check in.
The
right.
things we do. Well, at least Series 4 isn't a problem anymore. Or it won't be.
It's because there's like 3 good cards in all of Series 4, but yeah.
Well, also they aren't adding any more.
So we say if it's 7 to 8 months to finish Series 3, almost any Series 4 or 5 card is going to show up in the spotlights within those 7 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Like, you almost have more agency over those than you do the Series 3, and that's not even considering Token Shop. So, my very last card was Mystique, and there were probably 90 Series 3 cards when I finished. She's not the most important one, but she's one I wanted for a really long time, and she's
definitely one of the coolest ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So imagine if you're a Destroy player and, some critical Series 3 card is your very last piece, then you're not doing a good job of checking your phone every 8 hours, but that's besides the point.
I mean, but you can be. There's a lot of cards there, and there's 6 Destroy cards you need, right?
Yeah. It's a huge problem, and Series 1 and 2 are so well curated. Series 3 is way too big, and they need to cut it off at, 60 cards, something like that, to say these 60 are going to be easier to get than the next 60. I don't know how you do that. My best option is just bump everything up one series.
So my former student, Louis, who's 31, plays Marvel Snap, I had dinner with him, a month ago, and he's about 60% of the way through Series 3. And I looked through his cards, and I was like, you cannot actually build a meta deck. You can't get, close to a meta deck. And he was like, I know, this is ridiculous. And I was like, he was like, what do I open? I was like, you can open, 5 cards, but every card you open is going to still leave you 1 to 2 cards away from a meta deck. Just see what you open and lock things and hope for the best. And, I built, 7 decks because I'm insane, right? At this point, I know every card in Marvel Snap real well. But, I was just like, none of these are, even close to ready. This is just the best you can make from these with what you have. And he was like, I know. And his brother plays. And his brother's 30% through Series 3 and just hit 3 meta decks and is having a grand old time. And whenever they do friendlies, his brother smokes them. And his brother's like, you're better at this game than I am, but I have decks and you have shit. And it's just what is the solution to that? I mean, the solution is gimme's the money. But if he didn't know me, he would have quit the game. And how many people is that true of? And they should have stats and data about when people quit the game, whether it's Series 3 or Series 5. And maybe they're just not quitting in Series 3 and it just feels like they are. But if you're really unhappy with Series 3, even if you stick it out till you're done, being done with something really frustrating often makes you be done with the experience that was really frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more, I think that would, if you enjoyed Series 3 and it was a reasonable pace, and then you enjoyed Series 4 and 5 and it was a reasonable pace, I feel like you're more likely to stay than if you absolutely hate Series 3. You sort of hate finish it, and then you're like, fuck this game, bye.
Yeah. Yeah. If they want, I'll buy this sort of.
You can't sort of.
Well, I'll buy it, but the sort of comes from, I think when you're in the position we are, where you have most of the cards, Series 3 isn't that big of a deal because it's sometimes faster to get Series 3 cards than it can be, depending on the whims of the spotlight caches. But I definitely think for newer medium-term players, it's a big problem. And I think the biggest problem is this obsession that a fundamental design pillar seems to be bespoke collections. That they want this idea that everyone's collection is a little bit different, this kind of attempt to create a digital version of your no one's trade binder is the same in other games, and that I think is actually really toxic for a digital game.
Yeah.
And I think if they want to keep that, I think they have to start introducing like booster packs into Series 3 where you get like 3 cards at once or 4 cards at once. And maybe this is too generous to newer players and mean to us long established ones, with some small chance of getting a Series 4 or Series 5 when you hit one of those, right? Like something to like keep you wanting the gotcha, right? And it like and boost that you're like moving through it at a pace where if you're free to play or a low spender, like just a season pass spender, in maybe 3 months you could get through. But you're getting cards at 3 at a time, right? And also getting cards 3 at a time creates like an illusion of, even if you get 3 of the shittiest cards in Series 3, you've still got 3 new cards, and your brain's like, ooh, what could these 3 new cards do? Versus 1 card, it sucks, and you're just like, okay, it goes in the pile, right? Like, I think it creates more opportunities to engage by giving, if they're going to keep Series 3 being this huge chunk and not move some of it down to Series 2 and sort of like not move stuff back down, like all of these kind of like things that they could do. I think introducing booster packs into the whatever the Series 3 version of Caches is would be the solution. So I'll definitely buy this, but I'm mostly for newer players.
Yeah, like no one cares about us. We're fine.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no, we're not, like, but that's fine.
Sure. Sure.
Like lots of things about the economy suck for people, particularly non-optimizers. So
yes, but we're insane, is what I meant. Like by fine, I meant we're already hooked, right?
I mean, Glazer, you just told me that a $50 bundle that just gives you gold and 2 variants is good value. Like that's how fucked we are.
I bought it.
So I'm not with you.
I was like, oh,
hey, like I think those variants are cute.
This buys me more variants. I got 2 variants, and now I can buy more variants.
And I remember when we started the show, Glazer's like, I will never spend my gold on a variant.
Y'all and your variants.
Here we are, worn down 18 months later.
All you had to do is tell me their tax write-off, and I was like,
oh, right. Oh, my God. Here we go. All right.
For free?
Moving on. Next. All right. So, I think we are back to Ben, or do we just have... No, we're up to Lauren. All right. So these conversations are so long, and it's easy for me to forget who we're going to do. All right, Lauren. Call is pretty severe power creep. Buy or sell?
Pretty severe is kind of gray area on its own, Glazer. But
you had these 2 days ago, and you could have said that, and we could have modified it. But no, tell me on air. That's no problem.
I'm gonna sell for a couple reasons. One is Sentry, the other 410, one of the other 410s, but the one that's arguably better. Sentry exists and is a 420 in a deck where you can send Void over.
No, Sentry's an 1120, right? At best,
you have to play at
best an 820.
Well, a 926.
Okay. Like, but it's never a 5. It's never a 520. It's never a 520. That's not a thing.
You're right. You have to build around it. Mm-hmm. Which Cole you don't have to build around nearly as much. No. Having one cost is much easier. But the core reason I'm selling is because Cole isn't power creep. The entire set of 4-cost cards is, okay, maybe not all of them, but 4 costs in general are power creeps. They're way ahead of the curve compared.
Dude, what is Iron Lad doing at 4/6? I don't know.
Yeah.
Shh, they forgot. Leave it alone.
Okay.
It's not just because of Zabu. Zabu exacerbates it, but 4 costs are they're ahead of rate compared to any other costed card in the game.
It's the same problem with 2-drops.
It's kind of because of Zabu.
Definitely accentuates it, for sure. It makes it harder to ignore.
Like, have you tried to play a Darkhawk deck without Zabu where you're running like 3/4s and you're just like, my hand doesn't work?
You wouldn't if you were running 3/4s, but
right. Like 4s might be good, but like 4s in multiples are good because of Zabu.
And he is in all the decks that have multiples of 4s, even if it is like different 4-drops in each of the decks that are, deemed problems or whatever. He's the common denominator for sure. He's the mascot of the 4-drop problem.
But if three costs were better, maybe you wouldn't have so many Zabus Zabu's in so many decks right now.
So that's not why. It's not that 3 costs are worse, because 3 costs have to be worse than 4 costs for entirely obvious reasons, right? The reason that Zabu is in every deck is because every other thing you can do early game got nerfed. What else are you doing in the early game that affects the late game?
They should put Angela back. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, and make like 3 or 4 more other things that work like Angela. I don't know what they are. I'm not a card designer.
Luke, Elsa.
But there's nothing. What else are you doing early in the game before turn 3 to affect the game's outcome?
Playing Ravonna.
I mean,
sure, which is basically Zabu.
My most played card is Craven. The small scalers.
I'm just gonna say Ravonna turns a lot of my 5 and 6 drops into 4 and 5 drops. That's all I'm gonna.
Yes.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Look, I love Ravonna too. I actually like Ravonna a lot more than Zabu. I think she's better designed, but like, there's very, very few things you can do early in the game that are as widely appealing as Zabu, as easily powerful as Zabu, right? And like most of the other things, again, we already name checked Elsa and Angela. You can throw Kitty in there, right? You can throw Luke in there. There's probably some others if we really think about it. But like, I mean, early Bishop, when Bishop was completely freaking stupid, was a 3 that you would build an entire game plan around, right? They nerfed almost all the powerful 4s got weaker. Your Lizards, your Mysterio, so on. So like all the things. Sorry, 4s. Thank you. You're right. So almost all the powerful things to do early got killed. So if all the powerful things to do early got killed, why spend time early and not just ramp out of it, which is basically what Zabu does. You just opt out of that entire, I can waste my time for a few turns thing.
Yeah, I mean, 4-drops are the most dangerous card slot, like sitting in the middle of the cost curve, right? Like, they're going to always exist in this space where they are going to generally be more powerful than 3-drops and generally be slightly worse than 5-drops. But since they are, because they're 4, though, they're the most powerful card that it's easier to play other cards with, right? Mm-hmm. And so that creates like this really interesting design tension. And Zabu does make the problem worse, but I do think is fundamentally the source of the problem, because it just reduces the downside too significantly of having multiple 4-drops and turning 4s into 3s, which creates all kinds of different things. So I think definitely Zabu, I think, still is, I've said this over and over again, I still think it's just like the best card in Marvel Snap, besides maybe Thanos. And the fact that those 2 cards perennially create problems, specifically this card, I'm gonna sell it mostly because I don't think that this card is like super duper the source of most of the power creep in the game. I think like Blob is actually more symptomatic, like the 5, also like Annihilus in some ways is. Mm-hmm. I think this move to try to make more expensive cards better is leading to a lot of the power creep, because what they did is make cheaper cards better for a while because the 6-drops were too good. And like, it's just this weird sort of like arms race between the 2 cost slots, because I don't entirely think that their design sensibilities are like fully aligned. So there's my answer.
What about some other 4-drops like Loki and Ms. Marvel?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're going to tell me that 4 costs I would still play those without Zabu.
Yes, but I wouldn't play Loki and Ms. Marvel and Shang-Chi.
Yeah, Zabu does invite you to load up on them,
because of Loki's specific tension, sure. But like, if you change Loki with something else, I don't think you would. Like, I think Loki is specifically weird for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I mean, definitely those Darkhawk decks before Zabu, that like 2-week period, I guess, before Zabu, when it just right, because I think that was the release order, right? Like Zabu was like beginning of December, and the January 20.
Zabu was beginning of February,
but Darkhawk was first.
January.
Darkhawk was first, though. He was in December.
Darkhawk was first,
right? That period of like Darkhawk before Zabu sort of showed the awkwardness of like building your strategy around 4 costs before Zabu came out, right? Because sometimes you'd have this hand that's like Shang-Chi, Darkhawk. I don't know. I can't remember another 4-drop that deck definitely
Rock Slide.
Rock Slide. There you go. Right. And you're like, I can either like play my proactive thing, which might be better than their proactive thing, or I can play my answer, which will then not be able to answer their Devil Dino that they're going to play. Like, it was just like really awkward because you were building around this like 4 spot that, and if you drew it in the wrong order, it was really weak. But Zabu just smoothed all of that out, and that was, of course, old Zabu. But new Zabu still does a lot of that work. So, anyway.
So we know this because Mobius was a 2/3, right? Like when Mobius was a 2/3. Darkhawk decks disappeared. 4-cost decks disappeared. They just stopped being. I mean, Loki, right? But we've established. Like, I hope we can all just agree and move on that Loki is his own.
No, we should all aspire to the Loki meta. That's where we want it.
So Loki is Loki, but like outside of Loki, 4-drops just disappeared when Mobius was a 2/3 because you couldn't play Zabu. Right? Like, I'm not incorrect in that, right? Like, we all remember that the same way, as because brains are silly.
It's hard for me to say. I don't play the meta decks generally, so like I don't remember what everyone was.
Against them,
I do play against them. It's true. I don't know. I guess that sounds possible. I wouldn't swear to it. You know, like I would not testify that 4-drops dried up because Mobius was around. But I also don't know that they didn't.
I remember Sarah drying up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, Sarah just disappeared.
I think Glazer's thesis is correct, but I do think they ban-hammered or nerf-hammered Mobius like fast enough that we can't like scientifically say that they disappeared, because there is that like lull where like the answer comes out, and then what the deck that it was supposed to answer disappears for a while, and then slowly comes back as people realize that, again, as we said at the beginning, threats are better than answers, and eventually you'll figure out like how to play your threats around their answers. Like, I think Mobius got like whacked before people made that shift in the 4-cost decks, but we could be wrong. We'll never know because we don't exist in that universe. But somewhere, some version of this podcast is discussing that.
Either way, we are far afield. I think Cull is actually pretty serious power creep. I think he's the 4 that, like, he's the good stuff card, whereas Annihilus is a package. Even Darkhawk is a package. Cull is just like, I'm building decks because I have to build a lot of decks because I'm insane. So I build a lot of decks, and I'm sitting there going, why should I not run Cull here? Why should I not run Cull here? And as long, like, outside of like strictly packaged decks, I should run Cull here.
Yeah, he's super good. I forgot. Have you bought or sold?
Oh, I am buying the shit.
You're buying. I'm also buying.
Yeah.
I built a very boring Cull Obsidian deck, and it just doesn't lose very much. It's
in bounce. Like, Safety put it in bounce. Safety was just like, why don't I just throw this in bounce? And then, like, if I have a bunch of 0-cost shit at the end of the game, I could just play Cull.
Yeah, I'm just doing good stuff, Darkhawk, Miss Marvel crap with Cull, and he just wins. The numbers get big.
They go vroom. Yeah. Like, there's just, what don't you want to play a 4/10 in that if you can get to, and like, I think the number might be 2/1. Someone was supposed to do the math for me and then just kind of didn't. Not saying any names. I don't have any friends that are good at math. It's hard to claim. But like, there's just no real place that doesn't want a 4/10. That like is free to play.
And he is like a freestanding building. Like, there are no support things you really need.
Like, and like, yes, it's only a 3-card package for Sentry and Eyeless. But Sentry and Eyeless, I think, is the best package in the game right now. So releasing a standalone card that's nearly as good as that, I think, is fairly power creep. And then the hood is 2 1-drops.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this is in, as far as I can tell, every Century and Nihilist deck till something changes, right? Like, there's no reason. Because Century and Nihilist decks, because they're running hood, also often run Nico. And guess what? Now you're running Call. You're there. That's 3 1-drops. Have a great time.
Okay, you've sold me. I'm buying.
Like, what? Every Darkhawk deck, at least as long as Zabu exists, they're going to have to nerf Zabu, just for the record. This card is going to get Zabu nerfed.
And we'll all shed so many tears when they do.
I will definitely shed tears because this stupid, boring card is what got, of all the busted 4-drops that they've printed, it's this stupid card that is just stats. Like Miss Marvel didn't get Zabu chat. That's at least a cool card that does something different.
That is a cool card.
You can nerf Ms. Marvel, right? You can nerf Ms. Marvel in real ways. How do you nerf Cult?
Unprint this card. Like that's what you do.
Yes.
Like just unprint it.
But like seriously, you can nerf it to, like, you're not going to nerf to need 2 1-drops in a lane. That's stupid, right?
Oh, I love that. How about 3 1-drops? That sounds great to me. Hire me as a balance designer at my current salary. I will gladly take that.
While we're talking about 3 1-drops, can I just mention, I feel like this is going to be a good year for Squirrel Girl between Cull Obsidian and Mockingbird next month. Like, we're all going to be playing Squirrel Girl.
That's a card I would love to dust off my virtual collection. I've got sweet variants for that card.
I've got the hip Squirrel Girl because I immediately completed that album.
I have everybody else. Like, I have 0
making
out of 12.
Cupcakes. Like that one that's a great.
That is a good one.
All right, we'll go to our last one. We'll start with you, Ben. Do you have any of your own here that you want to offer to us for buy or sell?
Absolutely. Marvel Snap
or do you want to buy
very
sell this
much
segment?
Yeah, sure. Marvel Snap would very much benefit from the addition of some single player content. I think we've seen it work in good games like Hearthstone. I think there have been I haven't played Hearthstone in a few years, but for many years I did play, and there were all kinds of cool single player things to do. I think it's worth noting that everything that you can do in Marvel Snap right now, it's all very zero sum. You know what I mean? It's all you versus another human, and somebody's going home crying. And it's like there's a 50% chance in theory that it's you. And I think that can be like a little bit psychically damaging over a very long time. And it would be great if you could just beat up on the CPU every once in a while. And also, it would be a wonderful opportunity to teach players how to use cards that maybe they are not eager to play immediately, just like in a vacuum. But, maybe there could be little puzzle challenges that got people better at positioning or like moving cards and like doing cool maneuvers and things. Like, I think it would be a great opportunity to just make it a little bit less of a bummer for people when they're losing a lot, and just have like something to retreat to where they can still be practicing the game without making themselves feel like failures. Or and also it's just a great opportunity to strut the lore. DC Dual Force, rest its dearly departed soul, it had shockingly good single player content. These comic book missions where you'd save the day with Wonder Woman versus some Wonder Woman enemies.
Cheetah.
I forget who was in that one. Maybe it was Cheetah. I don't know. I played a fair amount of Dual Force, but they did the single player thing really well and nothing else. But yeah, if they can do it, Second Dinner and Marvel, like, they would knock it out of the park if DC pulled it off, and they did. So yeah, I would love to see some single player content in 2024 or 2025 or whenever they get around to it. I'm much more eager to see that than auto battler stuff.
Oh, I love auto.
I love auto battlers too, but Hearthstone Battlegrounds, Teamfight Tactics, like people are already doing it, and I don't really.
Oh, I don't play other card games, so I don't know.
Wait, have they said that they're going to do their own version of Battlegrounds?
No, that's speculation.
Good. Okay, cool. But no, it's perfectly reasonable speculation, Ben. Like I would not be surprised.
I'm sure it's higher on their to-do list, probably. Oh, I'm not sure. I speculate that it's higher on their to-do list.
Just for the record, buy. This is an easy buy. I want it.
Unobjectionable buy. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. If this is what the people want, they should definitely get it. Also,
I'm just suggesting I probably wouldn't play it very much because I don't play a lot of the single player content. I play it once and then I'm done with it. But, I think people would like it. It would serve a purpose.
I'm the same. Single player is not for me, but I think that it would be a mode that expands the target audience better than any other thing they could add. Certainly better than like a draft mode, which I would love a draft mode.
I would love that.
But there's already stuff in the game that caters to me.
Just to be clear here, for those, since there's no video here, Lauren shitting on the idea of a draft mode just killed Aaron. Like, Glazer is dead.
I just don't.
We all
she
want
does this
it
all the time. I just don't listen when she does. It's fine.
I'm
still waiting.
Want a draft mode.
I'm still waiting on my number of one drops math. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, Lauren, do you have a buy or sell, or do you just want to sell this segment?
I'm sorry, I've got one. I think that the card design in general is too narrow. Glenn will openly say that the design in this game pushes into more narrow spaces than most games are comfortable doing. And it's probably the deck builder in me, but I think there's too many cards that are just like so specific that they are absolutely the right answer in their spot, and that is only getting worse over time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll buy that.
No, I mean, I think this is a compelling one. I'll also buy that. I think Marvel Snap design is like fundamentally incoherent. I think would be a way I would put it. It's like they take such big swings and such narrow swings. I think it's actually, and as much as I actually actively do not want a draft format, I actually just could not care less about drafting. I actually think the fact that every card is only made for constructed leads to like there never being surprise designs. Like they don't design like enough cards to make like organically good mistakes. They make mistakes like Elsa or whatever, but like cards don't just kind of emerge out of the ether. Like, or they design a card for limited, but it ends up being busted and constructed for different reasons, right? Like you often see in like Magic cards, right? The fact that there's like one game mode that they're designing all the cards for, I think that is what fundamentally can just like, and not even just one game mode, but like Conquest is kind of a different game mode, but it's not really like there's one format as well, right? There's just standard or whatever term you want to use, Marvel Snap. There's no like bigger formats with bigger cards, right? Like there's like this one space that all cards go into, and I think that is what narrows the design space the most. And I hope that one day they get a bigger format that we can see cards like organically become busted versus just like the initial design is either like on point, busted, or shit, which is kind of like where all cards land. And it's not all, but like 75%, and a few emerge organically as like, oh yeah, this was surprisingly powerful. Unlike in other card games, like again, like Magic, Hearthstone, because there's limited in those two, but there's also like a card that's shitty in standard is busted in modern, or a card that's great in terrible in modern is great in standard, right? Like that emerges organically. Anyway.
I mean, probably, yeah. This feels like a pretty simple probably, yeah. So I'm buying, but like, I'm not enough of a card design person to actually know. So I will take the people who are more educated on its work. Sorry, I know that wasn't a compelling answer, but that's my answer.
No, I think that's a great answer.
It has to be tied in also with 12 card decks, right?
Oh yeah.
Is that why they're comfortable making things so narrow?
Yeah.
And also, is that why we feel it so much more? Because there's only 12 slots. Like, when there's 11 best obvious cards, it's just really limiting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
All right. That was a very fun segment. All right. So we are in our segment that we do every week, very end of the week. We'll start from the left. Who picked this more realistic? Oh, we're doing Vulture to be clear here. Vulture. Who picked the Vulture here on the left as their variant?
I picked this Vulture. This is the Giulio Rincioni Vulture. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not an Italian speaker. I enjoy garlic and tomatoes and cheese, and that's about as deep as I go on Italian culture. But
okay.
This Vulture just so sick. Totally captures everything I love about the vibe of the character. He resents Spider-Man's youth. I call this one the get off my lawn Spider-Man Vulture. He just Vulture doesn't do quips. He's always angry at Spider-Man for doing quips. He doesn't get the kids' jokes, and he's got all this youthful energy just bouncing around all over the place. And he's always yelling and screaming and he just wishes he was young so bad. And I get it.
Oh.
I get it. There's something very truthful about this Vulture.
All right. Thank you, Benjamin. Who picked the Luchador mask Vulture?
He's a supervillain. He should wear a mask. Why is he just out there shouting out his identity? That's mine.
No one cares about the Vulture's identity, Glazer.
I care about the Vulture identity.
No,
I
you
like
don't.
The Vulture. I do like the Vulture.
No. I know you can like the Vulture. You just don't care about his identity.
Adrian Toomes?
No one cares about Adrian Toomes.
The real MVP.
Oh, right. Sure.
No, I think Adrian Toomes is a great character. I think that I think he's a really compelling character, and I really, really like this design. I especially like that one hand is balled up for a fist and one hand is like a vulture claw as he pops out of the screen. I enjoy the mask. I like the feathers not directly attached to the arm. I get the feathers attached to the arm design, but it always feels a little funky to me. Like you're just walking down the street and you're flapping away. I don't know. I like the feathers on the back better, and I personally think the mask is cool.
All right, Lauren, why did you pick the sort of red-eyed Vulture here?
Yeah, this is Combo Break. It's not released yet, but I love the colors. And to me, it looks the most like the character, or at least how I picture a Vulture enemy to be. He has got a beak, not literally. Yeah. Pixel was my backup if you want me to pick one that's released.
I was going to pick yours, except I didn't like the red eyes.
I will say that once again, we have an objectively correct answer, and that's the one on the right here, which is the Pixel, which captures just the absolute essence of how crappy of a villain the Vulture is. I don't mean this and you can't like the character. The Vulture is just a crappy villain. There's a reason why Across the Spider-Verse had to turn him into some Leonardo da Vinci version to make him compelling.
He's got grass growing out of his back.
Only Michael Keaton. They had to bring out all the stops of Michael Keaton, and he's barely the Vulture from the comics in the MCU to make him compelling.
I think you just made an enemy, Roy.
All right, so
look, Pixel Vulture is crotchety.
No, I
died off screen in Marvel Spider-Man 2. There's just anyway.
Spoilers.
Racking up L's.
Hang on. Ben, defend your character's honor.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, Vulture's...
You looked taken aback.
Well, Vulture is very cool. And yeah, Michael Keaton crushed it in Spider-Man Homecoming, but that was just one of many valid interpretations of the character. Also, I liked that that version of the character has the things that I like about the Vulture in my illustration that I chose. He's like, you're trying to date my stepdaughter or whatever. He just hates this youthful person with joy and stuff to offer the world. The bitterness, he's a great character, and I don't know what you're talking about.
There we go. All right, the Birdman playing Vulture was very funny to me as well.
Oh yes, the Birdman playing Vulture is good. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Benjamin, thank you so much for being on this episode. We're at the point where we begin to say goodbye. If our loyal listeners and loyal viewers were to follow your content, go find you on Elon Musk's Hell site, watch you on Twitch, what would they get out of engaging with your content?
Well, I post a lot of decks. Mostly they're decks that I've tested in Conquest, and they are generally pretty darn off meta. I've got one that I want to share today, but it is a little maybe too boring for my brand. And I don't know, I might have to leak it somewhere else that doesn't have my name associated with it or something. I don't know. But yeah, I post wacky decks. I love moving. I love surfing. Lately I like discard now. Who knew? That's big and fun. Meek's a really good card. Please play Meek for me. Or play Meek for your own enjoyment. He's just fun as heck. Can sometimes be found streaming on Twitch, but not very often. But when I do stream, it's usually for like 6 to 8 hours. And I go pretty buck wild with it. I think I will try to... What day does this go out? Sunday? Is that right?
Saturday.
Okay, well, I'll try to stream this weekend so that if you listen to this, you can maybe tune in the evenings. That's usually my time when I do anything. But yeah, just follow me on Twitter. I don't post anything super troubling. It's all generally pretty positive, unless I'm maybe complaining about things. I don't complain too much usually in public. I got feelings, but don't we all? Yeah, just play weird decks and
let the vulture within out.
Yeah, even if you don't follow me on Twitter, just build a deck and think fondly of me. Keep me in your heart when you're trying new ideas and learning things. Yeah, that's all I really want for you.
So, my turn. There are only 2 reasons to have Twitter. One is that you have this godforsaken YouTube that you have to promote on it. And the other is to follow Benjamin Roller. He's one of, I think, my 2 very favorite people whose content I predominantly consume on Twitter, because I don't consider the stupid bullshit nonsense that happens on Twitter to be content. It is a hell site in almost every way, except for Benjamin Roller and Philip Woodward. Those are like the only 2 people I primarily interact with on Twitter that I actually like.
Sorry
if you are one of the others. Get off Twitter and get on real apps, please.
It's no good for you.
But,
what, Google Plus? It is not a thing anymore, Glazer. Like,
no, I didn't say Google Plus.
I think you said Google Apps, and I was like, "What Google Apps are you trying to?"
Get off Twitter. Just get off Twitter.
I was like...
and go literally anywhere else.
Okay,
and I will happily interact with you. But if you are on that piece of shit website, you must be following Benjamin Roller, or you're doing the wrong thing even wronger somehow. Lauren, why should our friends follow you?
Yeah, I post stuff about numbers. I try to make good decks. Mostly I make silly decks.
That's nonsense. They're great.
Yeah, that's such bullshit.
If you like Lockdown and playing cards that aren't very big, that's kind of my jam. Although I do other stuff too. Valkyrie is my favorite, so it just ends up being lots of Lockdown. I write mini articles on Twitter that Glazer yells at me that they should be on Snap Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get money for one of those, and the other is a hell site.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Hey, we don't know what Lauren's quick click-through rate is, and whether she is a premium Elon Musk
I've
fan.
got a feeling she's not.
We know the answer to this.
All right, I'm just saying she could be an Elon Musk special kid club and get all the money. That's what I saw on
If
Twitter.
she is, then we need to have a conversation.
You are really good at hiding shit.
Unlike Benjamin, I post lots of things that are troubling.
No, you
just
don't.
Kidding. Almost 99% of what I post is Snap, and I try to make it valuable.
And you succeed.
That's it. You are so bad at self-promotion. All right. So the ridiculously humble Lauren does, again, and I'm going to say this every time because it is worth shouting from the rooftops about her content, that there are very few people in Marvel Snap whose content is wholly unique, who no one else is even occupying the same space. And Lauren is one of those people. No one exists in the same space as LaurenWhatevs. No one does what she does for the game, for the community. No one does the type of analytics she does. She'll occasionally bring someone in to help with her content, but then they're literally just occupying her space. No one else lives there. If you care about basically the minutia of breaking down the data of the game, you need to follow her. Because there's literally, in this whole community, no one else who even tries to approach it because she does it so well. And now I'm done being nice to her.
Well said, Aaron. Now we get to my favorite part of every episode and every Snap Take video, where Glazer has to read off the list of all of the patrons. The Snap
I didn't update it.
Ooh, and he didn't update it. Ooh, extra. Let's see if he can do it off the top of his head of who's there. But Aaron, before you start reading,
add one person.
How much of their hard-earned money do they have to give you for the honor of you reading their names?
$10 patrons get 3 major things that others tiers don't. You get thanks on every single video. You get basically a weekly exclusive video and like several daily exclusive videos because I'm an insane person and just occasionally turn on a camera and talk into it for a few minutes. And you get a monthly exclusive podcast from Roy and I. So it's a whole bunch of exclusive content. But this is the Patreon exclusive. Thanks for $10. Yeah, I guess because February is ridiculous.
Short. Yes.
Yeah. It feels like we just did the last one yesterday, but whatever. All right, so we've got Abigail Giesler, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, DG Winfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fothor Newman, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jane Everett, JD McDonaldino, Aquila Platino, best name here, Caretix Lee, Koire, Models, Louis Antunes, that's the aforementioned former student, Matt Conduit, Matt H., Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Mike Jones, Two Ties, Express V, The Homie Min, and recently, Gunny T.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. And one final thing before I bring us home, I just need to remind you real quick how you can engage with us on social media. We are on Twitter/X at SnapJudgeCast. We are extremely proud to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. Go ahead and join their Discord. The link is in the description of this episode, below in the comments. Below the comments, in the description, and in the description of the episode on your friendly neighborhood podcatcher. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. We are at Snap Judgments Pod on YouTube, and our Patreon is Snap Judgments. Woo! After all of that, that brings us to the end of another lovely Valentine's Day episode of Snap Judgments. Benjamin Roller, thank you so much for joining us this week.
It was a blast. I had so much fun. I would do it again literally anytime if you ask.
I'm sure we will have you on. Speaking of having you on multiple times, Lauren, it is absolutely always amazing when we have you on the show. I've enjoyed both times we've done it, and you were excellent on the time you were on the show when I was not. So we are always happy to have you on.
Thanks. It's so fun every time.
Well, Aaron, I have been immensely happy to do this show with you week in and week out. I do not know if I will be back next week. I might be guillotined by the people in the comment section for my various takes in here. But if I am back next week, I will be very glad to be doing it again with you once more.
Peace and love, everybody.
All right, friends, that brings us to the end of another episode of Snap Judgments. Stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping.